I've never had the opportunity to play a game quite like For Honor before, as at a glance it may look like a simple action game, but when digging deeper there's a lot of nuance and strategy that goes into its core mechanics. It's strange that the closest game that I could compare For Honor with would have been a game from the Warriors franchise, but the game is literally nothing like it. In a Warriors game, you mindlessly hack and slash your way to victory, and if you try that in For Honor, you aren't gonna last very long. While running around the battlefield, you will run into AI-controlled units that can be killed in one hit, but you will still have to go about dispatching them one at a time. And once you reach another hero on the battlefield, the real challenge begins. For Honor has a deep combat mechanic that is easy to pick up, but it will take a significant amount of practice to master. You will have to pay attention to where units are attacking from, learn how to parry, learn how to deal with shielded units, recognize when the opponent is attempting a feint, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Learning all of these things and mastering them will be necessary in order to stand a chance when fighting against other players online, as trying to brute force your way through isn't going to cut it. The game's main draw is its online components, which encourage you to play against other players in a massive faction war between the Knights, the Vikings, and the Samurai. When you first start up the game, you are forced to choose a faction, and from there the competition begins. While it may seem daunting at first to be thrown into what would appear to be a lofty decision right out of the gate, you are essentially fighting for the group you choose in name only. No matter which group you choose, you will not be limited to playing any class or character, regardless of which faction they belong to. Each faction has 4 separate character types you can play as, and while some are similar, generally they all feel unique in some way. You only get the base units for each faction at the start of the game, but going through story mode will allow you to try out the majority of the unit types, as well as give you enough currency to recruit the ones you like most. While it's great that the game gives you a large variation of characters to play as, after you have found 1 or 2 character types that you enjoy, there isn't really a reason to swap around after you've settled into your niche. Playing online will help your side in its war effort against the other factions by either reinforcing areas that you currently have, or by attacking enemy-controlled areas in an attempt to take them over. The online components are separated into 2-week rounds and 10-week seasons. At the end of each round, the players on the side that is victorious will gain unique armor and weapon parts that they can use to customize their units with. And at the end of each season, even larger rewards will be released. It is yet unknown how this will affect the overall balance of the game, especially since the first season hasn't ended, but I doubt these rewards will tip the balance more than giving players minor advantages. The story mode tells the events that cause these groups to be at each other's throats, while at the same time acting as a slow-burning but ultimately necessary tutorial. As you play through the story, you will see the events from the eyes of the different factions, starting with the Knights before moving to the Vikings and then ending with the Samurai chapter. A small thing that I really liked is that you can choose the gender of each protagonist for each of the 3 storylines. While it doesn't change the story at all, it was cool that I was able to start the story as a male knight before continuing it with a female Viking and samurai. While the 3 protagonists don't interact much at all, with the Samurai chapter being the only time that they spend any time with each other, it was a neat feature nonetheless.
I was right. You are the Emperor's champion. Your army will find the path to the Blackstone Fortress clear. Good luck.
The main antagonist of the game, Apollyon, keeps the story on track, as well as keeps everything interesting until the story mode is over. She believes that peace is a weakness and seeks to instigate war between the 3 factions. And while it feels like there should be some huge payoff at the end of the story, sadly it ends up falling a bit flat. It was still enjoyable enough to play through, though most players won't have the urge to play through it again after having played through it the first time. When it comes to online mode, generally the game has been rather smooth, not having a whole lot of issues when it comes to latency. The only minor gripe is that if the hosting player drops, the game will take a moment to latch onto another player before it will begin again. Another problem that I've had actually isn't with the game itself, but with its player base. It is extremely common to run into players who are AFK farming, which means they're just sitting in their base, racking up points, while their teammates are actually going out and playing. This is so common that I would run into multiple matches in a row with players utilizing this tactic. I can definitely see players getting frustrated with such griefing tactics and quitting the game altogether. Like many games of this type, only time will tell whether or not For Honor has staying power. It focuses on its core action-oriented gameplay while letting most other things fall to the side. Really, it'll be the core player base to decide whether or not this will be a game that will be played for years to come, or one that will be simply forgotten within the next few months.